With Archbishop Joe Vasquez in Rome this past weekend, His Eminence, Daniel Cardinal DiNardo, who is now officially retired, joined a local parish in Houston to celebrate their 75th anniversary. Join us on the program to talk more about the 75th anniversary is Evelyn Wagner-Wright and Abel Rodriguez. They are both longtime parishioners at St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church in Houston. Evelyn and Abel, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
I was looking at pictures and learning so much about the Mass that was on Saturday morning, as well as a banquet that came afterwards. I'm friends with Deacon John Goodley, of course, friend of this program as well. So it seems like it was a very exciting time on Saturday morning. Just give me a little bit of background, though, before we get into that. St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church is parish, again, located in Houston. Evelyn, I'll start with you. For people who aren't aware, tell me where in Houston St. Francis of Assisi is located.
We are in Northeast Houston, accessible by all freeways, Interstate 10, the Loop 610, 59, and 45. We are just off of 610, off of Lockwood and Minden, so Northeast Houston.
And I know that you guys are both kind of part of the history committee there with the church as well, so you guys know a bit about the church. Been around since 1950. A little bit of demographics have changed. Evelyn, give me a brief overview of kind of how things changed.
Yes. Well, in 1950, during a Jubilee year, of course, the church was established, and it was established by Czech families and other European families.
Okay.
And so over the period of time, it has changed. The demographics have changed, and we're primarily an African-American parish now with a large Filipino population and Hispanic population as well.
Very good. Abel, you have on your shirt the logo for the anniversary. So it has 75 years and still standing for St. Francis of Assisi. I want to acknowledge that because that's not just a throwaway line. St. Francis of Assisi has gone through some really tough times over the years, specifically in close to the last couple of decades as well. Tell me about the situation. My understanding is that St. Francis of Assisi is located close to a bayou, so you're sort of subject to potential flooding.
Absolutely. Our first hurricane that we were affected by was Tropical Storm Allison, not a hurricane. And as we all know, that it just kept going in circles.
Yeah.
So the bayous had nowhere to rush the water to, so it just rose throughout the entire community. St. Francis was affected by it. We're just merely feet from the bayou, so it flooded the entire church.
Right. So if Allison wasn't bad enough, which it was really bad in 2001, then you had Harvey come along, 2017, also damaged the church. When you saw the flooding in there, Abel, at that time, what went through your head when you saw just the extent of the damage?
I thought for sure that the diocese was going to close it.
Yeah.
I thought, well, there goes our parish.
Right.
And immediately the tears come to your eyes because you've been there for so long. And then just to see it just to close, and like, oh my God, no.
And somehow it stuck around.
Yes. And so thank God that the diocese did decide to help us and rebuild it.
Yeah.
Just like St. Francis is always the prayer, he says,
that's okay.
rebuild my church.
Yes.
Right.
Rebuild my church. And that's what happened. The church was rebuilt, and here we are.
Yeah.
75 years later, and we're still standing.
Yeah. Evelyn, I wanted to ask you kind of a similar question about that, having seen some of the flood damage that had happened over the last couple of decades. Your reaction as well, I can imagine it was like Abel, were just, I don't know, just feeling devastated.
Yes. And well, after going through the tropical storm, then looking at this happening, I feel the same way as Abel. I kept thinking, oh no, not again. But I also worried about the people who were there because we still have parishioners. So we were calling people. I basically just called like 50 different families, making certain that they were okay. Were they able to get out? And then, of course, we checked on our pastor, and he said he was doing fine. And so that was good. But then you had to worry about the people because the people really make up the church.
Right.
And so we had a lot of elders who had to be evacuated by boat out. So you had to have worried about them and then their families as well.
Yeah, very good. Well, I want to give credit to the current pastor, Father Martin. He's part of what's a group called the Missionary of St. Paul of Nigeria. Tell me about, Evelyn, how long has Father Martin now been around as the pastor?
Well, he actually came in 2016.
Okay.
And so we just said that he was inducted by water because he had barely been there 1 year.
And
when
then Harvey happened.
So he came in a rebuilding mode because once we made it through Harvey, well, we weren't even complete at that time. We were still moving things back in. And then we had a global pandemic. So he's been in a rebuilding mode ever since. He's been there since 2016.
Yeah, got to give him credit. I'm sure you do as well, Abel, because I mean that's a lot to deal with.
Absolutely.
You guys again have been kind of part of the planning committee for the 75th anniversary. I know there was a big day for that, of course, on Saturday. Have there been? I'll let you answer this, Abel. Have there been other things that you guys have been doing this year to celebrate 75 years, to sort of the build up to it?
Yes, there has. One of the things that we started, which was like a year prior, there was a traveling chalice that we instituted. And that, of course, would bring the families together in more of a prayerful unity with the entire church. The chalice, Father Martin found this chalice. And I looked at the chalice, turned it over, and there was an inscription underneath, congratulating Bill, Father Bill, 1965. And that was like, oh my God, it's amazing. The church was founded here in 1950s. 15 years later, we find a chalice with the date on it. And of course, he said, let's use this instead. It weighs about 5 pounds. It's very heavy. It's encased in an acrylic casing.
Yeah.
And once a week, families take that home with them, and they enrich their prayer life at home and build that community with our church, because we're praying for them as well.
I was there earlier this year, and I saw that chalice. It's just incredible how it's lasted this long, since the 1960s. So that's incredible. Very good. So then, Evelyn, in planning for this past Saturday, again, we had the Mass, and His Eminence, Daniel Cardinal DiNardo, celebrated along with Father Martin, and I saw some of the pictures that Deacon John was sending me with a bunch of the deacons as well. So first off, shout out to all of the deacons and everybody who helps participate in the parish as well. That's great to have all that. And then after that, you guys had a banquet and everything. Tell me about the planning for that and getting everything in line, get everything on board.
Well, we introduced everything back on our Family and Friends Day in August last year, along with the chalice. And so there was a planning committee that handled everything, history, marketing, the program, food, everything. And so we met on a monthly basis. Initially, we met virtually, and then we started meeting in person in January, the first Thursday of every month, and to plan what is it going to look like, feel like, what do we expect the people to feel when they walk in? And then, of course, Deacon Joseph's wife, Mary Jane Joseph, leads the decoration committee. So she had this vision. We wanted to make sure that St. Francis was highlighted. And so in the trophy case, there's a statue of St. Francis. And so she has birds inside, deer, peacocks, and all this. So that's the first thing that you see when you walk in. And we had chosen our colors, being royal blue and white, and silver, being a jubilee. And so we started working around that. So completely transformed the entire parish hall. So you would have thought you were in a 5-star hotel ballroom or whatever, but it was really beautiful. And people had to RSVP to come to make sure that, we could seat everybody, and we were able to do that. And so different organizations made sure that we raised money to completely pay for this so that people would come and not have to fund it themselves. So it was open to parishioners, and then those people who have definitely been wonderful to us throughout the years and throughout the other challenges that we've had. So they were all invited. We came, we celebrated, talked about the history, gave shout-outs to all the families who had been a part of this parish over the years, and it was just it was a feel-good moment, but it was a spiritual moment as well. And so we had one of the past priests, two of the past priests that were there, and then of course we only had our 3 deacons, so they were all there, and their wives, and then all the other deacons throughout the archdiocese that came and provided support, and just many families and friends. So it was just beautiful. And the planning was as well, because to meet every week, you form a bond with the committee. And working on the history committee, we had, have to bring up this, we did a Did You Know every week, and we're still continuing that. And so we highlighted the history, the beginning, and then we started highlighting ministries and activities. One of the highlights was like our Fall Bazaar and our Crawfish Festival, and then talked about the role of Zydeco and how it was brought to our parish from Louisiana. Anyway, but so we have a little booklet that goes out each week with all this in it. We've highlighted the Art and Environment and Sacred Space group, and so just different groups, the seniors. And so every week we look at the history, when it started, who started it, who had been the chair people, the people that are still around, and all of that. So that was just one of the things we had done. And then we also have, all the photos. And so we, one of the ladies on our committee made a quilt. So on one side, there are photos of the past, the very first pastors, all the pastors all the way to the present. And then on the other side, we have the present, who the current pastor is, the current music, all of those things. So that was one of the highlights as well.
Yeah, that sounds so beautiful. And I love that the idea of Did You Know?
Yes.
And that's a great idea that any other parishes may be thinking about other ways to highlight their own community. It's a great way to do it.
Well, you'd be surprised what your regular parishioners don't know about your own church.
Uh-huh.
When we presented this, people were reading this. I didn't know that.
Right. Because they may not have been around all that long.
It's just routine for them to come to church and just sit there and listen, but they don't look around what's going on and paying attention to what's changed, what has been moved, or where did it come from.
And it's also good for the new people,
Absolutely.
people who've joined our parish within the last 20 years even, to know. And then there's some that just had forgotten. And the good thing about it is we had wanted to publish a book, but then now we're actually doing this, because as we are putting this together, we're not only announcing it, but we're putting it in print. And so at the end, we'll collect all of these Did You Knows, and it'll show from beginning until the current.
Very good. Well, I'll give you credit for that, because writing a book, I can imagine the challenge with that and trying to, get all the information together to synthesize everything. So that's great that you guys are working on that project. I'm sure it's going to be of great value to so many people in the parish as well. Abel, I want to follow up with you on sort of that spiritual element to the church, because Evelyn had mentioned not only was it a good time for everybody in the community to gather for the banquet, but then, like I said, there's that spiritual side of the church, which is just so important. I remember being there in the church. Obviously, there's acknowledgement to St. Francis of Assisi, but I also want to acknowledge St. Joseph, who there's a statue of him, I think, just when you walk in there to the right of the narthex or whatever, is images of St. Joseph as well. Abel, when you think about some of these saints, St. Francis of Assisi, St. Joseph, how do they, in asking for their intercession, how do you think that they've helped you over the years to grow in your own faith personally? Big question, I know, right?
Yes, it is. St. Joseph is in our children's room, our cry room.
Okay.
We have numerous pictures of St. Joseph there. A lot of the pictures that we have in the church, especially in the Marian Chapel, in the Marian Chapel, we have various pictures of the Blessed Mother in different ethnicities. So anyone that arrives at St. Francis, we'll introduce them to the Marian Chapel, and they could just pinpoint their favorite Blessed Mother, whether they be Hispanic, African American, different parts of Africa, Spain, India, you name it. It's very international. Now, I know there was a big question about, but you're only supposed to have one Blessed Mother in the Marian Chapel. I said, this is true. This is why St. Francis is special. But we welcome everyone around the world. And I know that you're going to make eye contact with your favorite or from your country.
Well, it's a reminder that we're the universal church,
Absolutely.
right? We're the Catholic Church. It's supposed to be for everyone.
Me personally, I look toward Our Lady Guadalupe and La Virgen de San Juan. And those two are shown at the parish. And like I said, no matter where you're from, I'm sure that you're going to connect with one of them.
Yeah, very good. Evelyn, I want to follow up with you on that, just asking if you have any saint special devotions, that kind of thing.
Well, even going back to your question about St. Joseph, and it's like the patron saint of our choir room, but focusing on the family. And we know that we've had different families who have asked, through intercessory prayer for help in getting their homes, bringing their children back to the church, or whatever. So that has been a great focus there. The Blessed Mother is just special to me, and I had prayed a long time ago that she would be very present in my life. And so having gone through some personal tragedies in my own family, and just asking her to be there when I couldn't be there. And her presence was known, her presence was felt. So I just feel totally wrapped in love when I'm in the Marian Chapel with all the different images, Our Lady of Africa, all of them, just mother and child, and just a reminder to me that we are her children. And so if we are made in the image of God, we should also be in her image. And so to see someone who looks like me, Our Lady of Cabejo, ever present, it just makes you feel wonderful to know that Mary looks like me as well. She looks like you. And so it's very, very special. And that chapel was started by a previous pastor. Our very first Black or African-American pastor was Monsignor Patrick Wells. So he started this and just started collecting the images. And it has just really grown. And that's one of the things also that we're known for and that we are really proud of.
Well, that's beautiful, Evelyn, that you can turn to our Blessed Mother for comfort. I know so many people that are Catholic have turned to our Blessed Mother to ask for her intercession during tough times because she can relate to us. She listens to our prayers for intercessions and brings them to her Son, Jesus, for us. So it's so great to have that reminder. And again, just to have all of the representation there at the church of the different saints, whether it's St. Francis of Assisi or St. Joseph, or even our Blessed Mother. So it's absolutely wonderful. So I encourage people, if they haven't, to check out St. Francis of Assisi at some point. You guys are very welcoming. You were when I visited with a table with the Guadalupe Radio Network several months back. And of course, Father Martin is so great and easy to talk to as well. So I really want to appreciate the both of you coming on. Again, Evelyn Wagner-Wright and Abel Rodriguez, parishioners at St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church in Houston. Thank you both for coming on here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Wyatt.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.